So are you in that photo
Yes,
in Medicine Man?
Yes. That was, and all those boats came out of Mark Adams' shop, and we're all good friends.
When your name got chosen to be the person to get the canvas, I was like, wait a minute, I think he's in that photo. It's just what a crazy full circle moment.
Right.
So what was your reaction when you did get that call saying you were the one who won the canvas?
It was really cool. It brought back a lot of old memories that we had. Yes. It was, the start of that day was really funny. It started out, I met up with the Mark Adams in the Kemosabe boat, John Froelich in Broken Arrow, at the turning basing in Fort Lauderdale. And they were like, oh, it's really rough. And I was like, well, let me stick my nose out and I'll look. So I did, and it was rough. And so I turned north to turn around. Well, when I turned north and I was gonna come back into to the port, they were already headed south. So I'm like, well, I gotta catch those guys. So, I mean, it was pretty snotty. And I took in enough water in the scoop on the port side to wash down the ignition. So I was down to 2 engines. So I'm like, well, I got to go into haulover. And everybody knows haulover. I was like, yep, I'm going to go underwater and haulover. And it actually stretched all the way, landed from one wave to the next, and it didn't go under, but there was about only 2 inches of the bow sticking up out of the water. And so I got in, and then I had to, stop, get the other engine cleaned out, dried out, and got it back running, and then idled down to Miami Beach Marina, where we were going. Well, and Mark and John continued on, and when John turned into government cut, he proceeded to stuff Broken Arrow. He got soaked. So once we all get to Miami Beach Marina, we all wind up in the pool, washing all the salt off that we just got soaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun, good day.
Do you have maybe a most memorable experience with an Apache out on the water that you can think of?
The one that sticks out, I think I had purchased the Tonto boat early in the year.
And what year was that?
I'm trying to, 2001, I think, 2000 or 2001.
Okay.
My computer bank's not as good as it used to be.
No worries.
I got it painted, but I hadn't changed the cockpit yet, and dying to do a poker run. And Stuart Jones with Florida Powerboat Club had a poker run that went from Daytona up to St. Augustine and back. Well, on the way up, everybody's screaming that it's rough, we got to go up the ditch or whatever. So we get out there, we have lunch, whatever. And John Pompey's with me, and I'm like, John, I mean, they say it's rough. Can we go outside? He's like, well, sure. So we went outside, and oh boy, did we get it handed to us. Yeah, first 5 minutes was great fun. The next 45 was like survival. Boat didn't care. I mean, the boat just rocked right through it. But I mean, we were soaked. The tweeters were hanging by the strings, flopping around or whatever. Everybody in the boat was having a great time. But yeah, that was, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, and then it got to the point where it was monotonous. But the thing that really scared all of us was right before we were going into, I can't remember the name of the port in Daytona, Ponce Inlet. We came up out of the water off a wave and looked 2 waves over, and there was a little 18-foot fishing boat. We never saw it until we were in the air. And had we been 1 wave over, we probably would have landed on him. Never saw him. So, yeah, that would have been a disastrous day.
Do you have any close calls where you really almost felt like you were testing the Apache to its limit?
No, not the boat itself. I always had faith in the boat. Weather's always going to be an issue. Everybody, 2001, we were in Key West for the offshore races, and Hurricane Michelle was coming, and everybody's watching the weather. So Friday, we decided to move our boats up. Michael Friedman had the Claude skater catamaran that he had, and I had the Medicine Man boat, and we moved them to a friend of ours up in Key Largo. And the first 30 miles of that we're inside the reef, but it was still rough. And had Tommy Hofstetter from Chief Engines was with me in the boat, and we actually left some friends because they were having to go a little slow, and we didn't want to get soaked. So, we were cruising about 70, I think it was like 6 foot. We got to be behind the bridge, and we're sitting there waiting for them to show up, and we're dry as a bone. And they looked like drowned rats when they showed up. It was hilarious.
One day on an Apache that you remember, if you could go back and relive it one more time, do you have a specific day that you want to go?
I'd go back to that St. Augustine to Daytona run. That was, everybody that was on that boat still talks about that trip to this day. John Pompey's helped me rig the Tom Tom boat now. And even in this process, we talk about like, wow, what a trip that day was. I'm like, we're not doing that with this boat. Not happening. So I don't want to have to clean all that salt out of it.
Right.
It was salty whenever we got to Daytona with that boat. The Apaches, that's the history of offshore. And I like preserving that. The trend nowadays is to go lightweight, carbon fiber, and go fast, which is, phenomenal. But if it gets rough, you want something that's got some weight to it, that's underneath you, that'll smooth out the water.